Just imagine a nation that has stood on the world map for 5,000 years. Not just by fighting, but with this incredible ability to come back from the very brink of destruction. This is a place that was literally burned to the ground by the Greeks, torn apart by Arab conquests, and suffered horrific massacres by the Mongols. Even in modern times, it was used as a pawn by Britain and Russia, and yet, after all that, it's still here, standing tall. So how does that happen? I mean, really, how does a nation rise again and again from what should have been its final end? Think about it. So many great civilizations fell once and were just gone, wiped from history. So what's Iran's secret?
Well, the secret is a pattern of rebirth, kind of like the mythical phoenix rising from its own ashes. But this isn't just about survival. It's a story of cultural conquest, where the conquered, time and time again, ended up shaping their conquerors. It's wild.
To really get this, we've got to go way back, to around 3000 BC. You had early civilizations like the Elamites laying the groundwork, building cities like Susa that would one day become the heart of a massive empire. But the real identity of Iran, well, that starts to form with the arrival of the Aryan tribes.
You know, the word Iran itself actually comes from Aryanim, which means land of the Aryans. These tribes, the Medes and Persians, didn't just move in. They took down the most brutal superpower of the day, the Assyrians. And in doing so, they pretty much announced to the world that they had arrived.
And the brightest star of this early period was, without a doubt, Cyrus the Great. He founded the Achaemenid Empire, the world's first real superpower. But what made him different is that he wasn't just a conqueror. He was this uniquely humane ruler. I mean, after taking Babylon, he freed the Jewish captives, an act he recorded on the Cyrus Cylinder, which is widely considered the world's very first charter of human rights. And the empire Cyrus built, it stood strong for 200 years. It was this incredible golden age of Persian influence that probably felt like it would last forever. But, well, history rarely works that way.
That change came in the form of a 22-year-old named Alexander the Great. His invasion was just a storm of destruction that ended with the burning of Persepolis, the spectacular capital city. The entire 200-year legacy of the Achaemenids just went up in smoke. It really looked like the end of Persia.
But it wasn't the end. This is where that phoenix pattern really kicks in. After Alexander died, his huge empire just fell apart. And right from the heart of Iran, a new power rose up, the Parthians. They kicked out the Greeks and became a major rival to the next global superpower on the block, Rome.
And after the Parthians, we get the Sassanid Empire, which is known as Iran's second golden age. They were all about reviving the legacy of Cyrus, bringing back their ancient religion, and turning Persia into this global center for knowledge. They founded places like Gundishapar University, where all the world's greatest minds came together. Oh, and by the way, they're the ones who introduced the game of chess to the world. Pretty cool, huh? But there was a shadow over this golden age. For 700 years, that's right, 700, the Sassanids and the Roman Empire were locked in this epic, draining conflict. It was like two heavyweight boxers who just bled each other dry for centuries. And that constant fighting left both of them totally exhausted and vulnerable, just as a new storm was brewing in the Arabian desert. That storm hit in 636 AD. At the Battle of Qadisiyah, the mighty Sassanid army was crushed by Arab Muslim forces. And just like that, the ancient Persian monarchy, which had been around for over 1,000 years, was over. It was another total collapse.
Okay, but this is where we see that secret to survival, that magic password in action. The Arabs won on the battlefield, for sure, but the Persians, they won the cultural war. Their land was taken, but their ideas, their art, their systems of government, they started to conquer the new Islamic civilization from the inside out.
And you can see this during the Islamic Golden Age. The Abbasid Caliphate was basically run using Persian administrative methods, and Persian became the language of science and art. Brilliant minds like Ibn Sina, you might know him as Avicenna, he was Persian, and he literally wrote the book on modern medicine. His work was used in European universities for 500 years. This was Persian intellect powering a new world.
So, just as Persian culture is hitting these new heights within the Islamic world, the most devastating storm in its entire history shows up. In 1219, the Mongol hordes, led by Genghis Khan, swept in and unleashed a level of terror and destruction that the world had never seen.
This wasn't a war, it was an apocalypse.
Entire cities were leveled, populations massacred to the last person. Millions died. The Mongols destroyed the ancient irrigation systems that had kept the land fertile for centuries, turning it into desert. It truly seemed like the phoenix had finally been burned to ashes, for good this time.
And yet, in maybe the most incredible rebirth of all, the pattern repeated itself. The Mongols took Iran with the sword, but Iran took the Mongols with its culture. Over a few generations, the descendants of those brutal conquerors adopted Islam, the Persian language, and its sophisticated art. The destroyers literally became the rebuilders, the new patrons of the very culture they almost wiped out.
All right, let's jump forward to the modern era because this pattern of resilience was tested all over again. This time, Iran faced a new kind of threat, the global empires of the 19th and 20th centuries.
In the 1800s, Iran was caught in the middle of the Great Game, a strategic rivalry between Britain and Russia, but the people fought for their sovereignty, launching Asia's first constitutional movement. Then, in 1951, Prime Minister Mossadegh bravely nationalized Iran's oil industry. The response? A CIA-backed coup in '53 that removed him from power. That event led directly to the massive Islamic Revolution in 1979, which was followed by a horrific 8-year war with Iraq. At every single turn, foreign pressure was met with fierce, unwavering resistance.
And that brings us to today. Iran is facing intense international sanctions and all sorts of regional conflicts. But that core strategy, forged over thousands of years of invasions, is still the same: self-reliance and resistance. You can see how the past is still very much alive in the present.
You know, the great Persian poet Ferdowsi wrote something that perfectly sums up this entire 5,000-year story. He said, "The sword can conquer territory, but the intellect and culture of a nation can never be shackled." That right there is the key.
The story of this phoenix teaches us that true victory isn't always on the battlefield. It's hidden in the minds and culture of the people. So, if history is our guide for a nation that has truly mastered the art of survival against all odds, what do you think the next chapter will look like?